Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Author's Pen. The Author's Pen is a weekly blog post that I do. Most weeks it's a written blog post, but the second Monday of every month I like it to make it a video blog post. And I hope if you enjoy my posts, whether you read them or see my video posts, that you subscribe to my blog. I want you to understand one thing that's very, very important to me. Your privacy is paramount. The only information that we take is your email address, and you'll just get a notification when a blog is posted. We do not sell or share our email lists with anyone, so you don't have to worry about privacy. But it's Monday evening, March 8th. Wow, I can't believe it's March already. It seems like we just got through the Christmas holidays, and here we are, only a few weeks from spring, thank God. But I struggled a little bit this week in trying to decide what to talk to you about. And I chose the topic of happiness and the reality of happiness. And let me tell you why I chose that topic. I receive numerous emails, and I make no bones about the fact that well over 90% of my blog post topics are suggested topics that my readers send in that they'd like to see me talk about. But this week I chose happiness because it's something that I wanted to talk about. Let's be honest. As a society, we've been through hell in the last year and back. It's caused a lot of turmoil, both emotionally, mentally, and physically, not only for adults, but for our children. With schools opening, should we reopen them? Should we not reopen them? All the financial difficulties. And right now, unhappiness, I should say, is really tremendously on the rise. And in some cases, it's led to people suffering from severe depression and even increased suicides. So, maybe it's a good time to talk about happiness and break it down as to what the reality of happiness is. If we were to survey hundreds of millions of people or billions of people in the world, and I was to ask you to write down a list of what makes you happy, I promise you that your list would be your partner, your life partner, your car, your home, your children, your pets, and other things in your life. And probably out of the billions of people in the world, maybe a handful, only a handful, would only write down one simple thing. And that one simple thing is being happy with ourselves internally. And you know what? Most people wouldn't even have that on their list because our own self-happiness is something that we take for granted and we don't consciously think about it. We just decide whether we're happy or unhappy. Now, I said earlier there's a lot of layers of happiness, and there are. There's happiness at work. There's happiness in your relationship. There's happiness in your home. There's happiness, like I said, with your children, your pets, and other things in your life. But many of those things are inanimate, all right? Now, they bring you joy, they bring you happiness because they're things that you like and you want, but they also contribute to your comfort zone. But those things alone will never make you internally happy as a person. In other words, you need to be happy with yourself. And let me give you an example. When you get up in the morning, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, whether you blow dry your hair, whether you put your makeup on, it's irrelevant. But when you get up in the morning and you take a step back and you look at in the mirror and you say to yourself, well, I look pretty good today. All right. And we've all done that. Come on. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of vanity. You've set the mood for your day. Okay. So you're in a good mood. You feel good about yourself. You're happy. Well, you know what? You're going to find that the rest of that day, pretty much no matter what happens throughout the course of that day, is not going to veer you from that happiness because you feel that self-worth, that self-esteem, that self-happiness inside of yourself. So you're happy with yourself. Now let's take the following morning. You get up, your hair didn't come out right, your makeup doesn't look right, it's a rainy day, you basically feel like crap. You got a lot to do at work, you're not in the mood for it. Well, you've just set the mood for your day, ladies and gentlemen. You are in for a miserable day. I don't care how much You love your house, how happy your house makes you, how happy your children make you, how happy your life partner makes you. You are going to be miserable. Period. End of story. How do we cope with that? How do people cope with that? The human mind is a funny thing. The human mind is a self-protective organ, meaning it protects us from things that might harm us in the form of what we think about. And when we think about things that make us unhappy, we tend to run from them. We tend not to face them because the human condition in the human brain causes us to go into a self-protective mode, and we run from them. We ignore them. But over time, these things build up and they build up and they build up, and they get to a point where they become a critical mass to our lives. Let me give you a couple of examples. And when I talk about inanimate things, let's talk about your house. Let's talk about your car for a minute. Did you ever have a car in your life that you have so many memories with? I used to have a 63 Chevy Super Sport. Man, I had that thing. It was a muscle car. I had it beefed up to the hilt. The memories that I have in that car are just tremendous. And one of the most devastating days of my life is when I had to sell that car. I never thought I could ever own another car that I would love so much and have so many memories with. Let's talk about your home. You're in your home, you're happy with your home, and you never think that any place you move will ever make you as happy as the home you're in. Let's take the loss of a partner for a moment. Someone you've been married to for 30 years, or a family member. You've lost them to an illness. They're no longer in your life. And you say to yourself, I love that person like I've never loved anybody in my life. I can never love anybody like that again. Do you think those things are all true? Do you think those things aren't possible? Well, there's a reality to happiness and there's a reality to life. And that reality is change. Everything is going to change. We're going to be able to keep some things in our life and we're going to lose some things in our life. How we adapt to that depends on our own internal evaluation of our own happiness. So what you need to do is you need to take an inventory of yourself. That's the very first thing you need to do. And you have to be honest when you do that. And you have to say to yourself, what in my life makes me happy and what in my life does not make me happy? And if you realize the things in your life that don't make you happy, well, the next step is you have to be able to face them, because unless you face them, you can't fix them. Now, I have a saying that I truly believe in because I know it to be a fact. And that is, every problem, every situation has a solution. We may not like the solution, but there is always a solution. Let's talk about people for a second, and then we're going to jump back a little bit. Are you a two-dimensional thinker? Are you a three-dimensional thinker? Are you a four-dimensional thinker? Because that's going to be very important on how you self-evaluate yourself. Most people are two-dimensional thinkers. So let me give you an example. I take you to this hole that's in my wall, and I bring you to a piece of wood, and I say, I can't figure out whether this piece of wood's going to fit in that hole. What are you going to do? The vast majority of people are going to measure the length and the width of that piece of wood. They're going to go over to the hole in the wall. They're going to measure the length and the width. And they're going to say, oh yeah, if we cut this down, it'll fit. My question to you is, will that piece of wood actually fit? You're a two-dimensional thinker. No guarantee it's going to fit. A three-dimensional thinker is going to measure the length of that wood, the width of that wood, and the thickness of that wood. Because now the two-dimensional thinker cut that piece of wood out, put it in the wall, and said, hey, wow, it fits great, but it's not thick enough. It's not flush with the wall. Or it's too thick, and now it's sticking out from the wall. So the three-dimensional thinker is going to look at that piece of wood, and they're going to measure the length, the width, and the depth. And then they're going to see how it fits. All right? And if you follow my point, this closely mirrors and parallels your life. Some of us actually think in a fourth dimension. All right? Being a fireman and a paramedic my whole life, you have to think out of the box. All right? Some people can think out of the box. Some people can't think out of the box. You have to be able to say to yourself, not only is the length, the width, and the depth proper to match the wall, am I using the right material that's going to last as long as the wall will? Now you're starting to think out of the box. So if you follow what I'm saying to you, all right, this is how you need to self-evaluate yourself. All right, because you can never achieve internal happiness if you constantly down yourself, have low self-esteem, low self-worth, and allow other people to treat you that way. That's another big key, all right? It's the standards you set for yourself as to how you're going to allow other people to treat you and when you're going to draw the line. So what happens now? We write down this list of things and we see the things about us, not things in our life, about us personally, that we're not happy with. It might be that extra wrinkle that you had that you never had years ago. It might be that blemish on your skin that you really don't want. It could be the stupidest little things, all right? Or it could be a situation like, hey, I'm stuck in a situation I don't want to be in. Do you have any conception of how many people are in relationships that they're not happy in, but they feel stuck in? Either because of financial reasons, they are not willing to give up the inanimate things that they have. Well, let me tell you a couple of secrets. And these aren't just secrets. These are life experiences that I've experienced and I've learned. It's backed up by clinical data. It's backed up by numerous different things. And if you think about it, these things have probably happened to you in your life. So let's talk about the husband or the wife that lost their spouse, or someone who has lost their partner. And they say to themselves, I can never love another person like I love that person. A few years go by, they date here and there, and then one day, something magical happens. They meet somebody. And over time, they say, wow, I love this person. Well, no two loves are the same. If you love someone new, it does not take away anything from the love you had for someone else. And that love might be completely different in its own way, but it might be equally as strong. And why is that? Because the human condition dictates to us that as people, we adapt. We adapt to new situations. We adapt to new circumstances. Let's say, for example, you have this home. You've raised your children. It's a big, big home. Now all your children are grown. They're on their own. You might be getting close to retirement. Your financial situation has changed. Whatever the case may be. And that home just doesn't make sense to keep anymore. But you can't let it go because you don't think that you could love any home the way you love that house. Well, that's not true. Because if you sell that house and you buy another one, you will adapt to that house and you will make that new house your home. And you will love it just as much. Maybe in a different way, but just as much. And that applies to if you lose a pet. You may replace that dog, you may replace that cat, and you'll love that new pet as part of your family just as much as you loved the first one. But you will never forget the first one. I'll never forget that 63 Chevy Super Sport. That other person will never forget that big house they raised their family in. But the key to be able to do this is you have to understand one very important concept. And that very important concept is happiness sometimes comes with sacrifice. Now, with that being said, If you're the type of person that is not willing to sacrifice, then you have to be the type of person that's going to be willing to stay unhappy for whatever period of time it takes for you to make that choice, to make the sacrifice to be happy. Because you have to have the self-confidence. You have to have the self-worth. You have to have the self-respect and the knowledge in yourself to know that you will adapt and you will overcome. And what is new in your life, you will learn to love and it will make you happy. So this is how we start to self-evaluate ourselves. We identify what is making us unhappy. You know, and I see it in marriages all the time. I get numerous emails from people. You know, before the pandemic, I had a relatively fair to moderate amount of speaking engagements a year. And most of those were motivational and inspirational, and a lot in the business world where you would be trying to teach managers, supervisors how to motivate themselves, how to motivate their employees. But you know what? The first thing you have to teach them, especially when it comes to self-motivation, is how to be happy with themselves in their lives and what they do. If you go to work every single day and you're miserable and you hate what you do, you are not going to perform to your 100% peak performance. And that's all there is to it, because you're not happy doing it. You have to be happy doing what you're doing. And if any aspects of your life takes away from that happiness, then you are going to be unhappy. Bottom line. And the only one who can fix that is you. Now, some people could step back, take an objective look at themselves. I'm able to do that, okay? Probably because of, again, my years as being a paramedic and a firefighter, and, you know, everything about that job is analytic. So I could look at myself and I could face something in my life that's not making me happy. And I'm not going to let it cause turmoil in my life. I will look at what I need to do to become happy, and then I will decide whether I'm willing to make those sacrifices. And I can tell you this, in every case I am. Because before I'm good to anybody, my family, my children, anybody that I'm in a relationship, I have to be good to myself. Because if I'm not good to myself and I'm not happy with myself, I am not going to be able to make other people happy. It is that simple. All right? It's like physics. Everything you throw up in the air is going to come down to the ground. You can't change it. Some people don't have the ability to do that. So if they don't have the ability to do that, I'm just peeking at a couple of notes here. So if they don't have the ability to do that, then they may need to talk to a friend, talk to a family member. And if that doesn't work, some people may have to go as far as getting professional help. But I will tell you this, I don't care what your situation is. No one should ever live unhappily. Because the main reason why people are unhappy, and every survey and every study shows this, it's because of inanimate objects they are not willing to let go of. So they stay, they're unhappy, and they're miserable. And now they become confused. They don't know what to trust, who to listen to, who not to listen to, and why not? Because they certainly can't trust and listen to themselves because they're living in a state of unhappiness and confusion. So you have to fix yourself. And if you can't do that with the help of friends, family, a partner, whatever, then get some professional help. You know, people are afraid to go to a counselor or a psychologist because they don't want to be looked upon as having a mental illness. You know what? Get over that stigma. A lot of people go to therapists not because they think they're mentally ill, but because they need that third eye, as I like to call it. They need that unbiased look from someone that has no emotional attachment to your life or your situation. In reality, as much as you hate to say it, they do the job they do because they love it. But if it works, and you get fixed, great. If it doesn't affect their lives one way or another. They may feel bad that they couldn't help you, but when your hour's up, they go on to the next patient. Okay? So some people need that look from the outside because they don't have the ability to step out of their own box and look at themselves. And if you're one of those people, I stress and I urge you, get that help because everybody deserves to be happy. So in closing, how do I summarize all this up? To summarize it up is really very, very simple. Every part and every form of happiness in your life revolves around your internal happiness. It's that simple. If you are not internally happy with yourself and you are in personal turmoil, then everything in your life is going to be in turmoil. Everything. Nothing is going to feel complete. You are not going to feel complete. If you allow people to demonialize you, lower your self-esteem, lower your self-respect for yourself, then that's what you will do. You will walk around thinking that you're not capable of being loved. You don't deserve to be loved. You'll start to think that you've done everything wrong. So it's a downward spiral. It's like a snowball that starts at the top of a hill. And as that snowball rolls down the hill, it picks up more snow and more snow and more snow until it becomes an avalanche. And in your life, your primary goal is either A, not to be that snowball on the top of the hill, or stop that snowball as it's going down the hill before it turns into an avalanche. But you can only do that by really taking a self-look at yourself. And I know there's a lot of people out there looking at or listening to this and saying, he's crazy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But you know what? Think about your life. Think about yourself. Think about your happiness. If you're a person who lost their spouse and have gotten remarried, if you were a person that was hurt in a divorce for whatever the circumstances were that caused it, and you think that you can never be happy again, or you're that person who did find somebody else and now you are happy again, then you know everything I am saying to you is absolutely correct. And if you take home anything from my message tonight, the message that I want you to take home is, if you want to be happy, you can be. All you have to do is take those first steps to do that. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed our little brief connection for 15 or 20 minutes. And with that, I wish you all, please be safe and stay well. Thank you and good night.